Therefore, any error in the Quran, any false statement, is Allah's error. Since Allah is the Almighty, all-knowing God, if there is an error, this means the book is not of such divine origin and is false. In fact, the Quran itself acknowledges that. Now, without further ado, let's start lightly. Number 60. Stars are an adornment. The Quran makes the identification of stars very simple and says that stars in the sky are an adornment, lamps, lights, little shiny objects. We know that stars are huge, gigantic objects of plasma that form by clouds of dust and gas collapsing, resulting in gravity and holding more and more heat together, which forms stars that are luminous and hot. Pieces around the star's gravity orbit and form planets, like the Earth. Our sun is a star, like millions that we see in the sky. But the Quran never gets more accurate than adornments, lamps, and lights. Only less accurate. Number 59. Stars are missiles. The Quran describes some of these stars as missiles for protection, thrown at rebellious devils, so they don't listen to the high assembly of angels. Apparently, Muhammad believed that there were devils above who would try to snatch secret knowledge from the heavens above and bring it to soothsayers, and these stars were made to shoot those devils and to chase them if they steal knowledge. This is silly. Stars thrown at rebellious devils is a ridiculous claim, but hadith also clarify that this refers to shooting stars. Shooting stars, as we falsely call them, because that's what we thought, are not stars. They are meteoroids and are of a completely different nature, such as from comets or asteroids. They enter our atmosphere and burn and light up, looking like stars to our eyes. And if we don't know better, we might think they are stars, as Muhammad thought. All that takes place right here in the atmosphere of our planet, not far away among all those stars. Number 58. Stars are near. The Quran's author thought that stars were very close to us, right here in the heaven above us, in the nearest heaven. This is a myth about 7 heavens, where the stars are in the closest heaven. Gladly, in a separate report, we are told how thick one heaven is. One heaven has the thickness of 500 years of marching. Marching like this, apparently. Now, the closest star to us is about 4.3 light years away, which is... just forget it. By marching speed, you would only reach a tiny fraction of that in 500 years, and this is the closest star, which means stars are not in some nearest heaven, as described by Allah. There would be so many more of those heavens until we only reach the closest star, and there are millions of stars much further away. The Quran imagines stars to be somewhere up here, and the moon in the midst of them. That's what you see when you look up to the sky at night, and you are in the desert of the 7th century. Number 57. Stars fall down. The Quran tells us that the stars will fall down before the Day of Judgment. As we understand by now, the Quran's author thought that they were little objects, lights, missiles, and they could fall down on us. Modern interpreters try to explain this verse differently, but Muslims in fact believed that the stars would fall down on the earth. The Quran verse says nothing else. If we look at commentators, the exegesis of Tabari mentions early reports that it means they would fall from the sky and lose their light. The exegesis of Jalalain says when they hurtle down towards the earth, the stars. Ibn Kathir says that stars will go dark and fall. And mountains will also fall down on us, by the way. Not only are stars so far away, we wouldn't be able to see them move around. For example, if a star is 4.3 light years away, we would only see a difference in that star in 4.3 years, because that's how long it takes for light to travel. The star would also travel for much longer than that to reach us if it fell, which is an absurd word, if it traveled toward us. We would never experience it within the lifetimes of the next few thousand generations. If a star came close to us, which is probably not even possible, because it wouldn't find a straight way to us, it would burn us up and annihilate us immediately, not fall down on the street so we could kick it around and play football. Number 56, 7 heavens, and number 55, 7 earths. The Quran says in multiple verses that there are 7 heavens or 7 skies above us, proving Allah's power. This can't refer to galaxies or solar systems, of which there are billions everywhere, not above us. It can't be universes, because by Muhammad's description, one heaven is not even big enough to reach the closest star. There would be millions of those heavens in our observable universe alone. Some modern apologists claim that this refers to the layers of atmosphere, but 7 would be an inaccurate number, and the Quran says that stars are in the lowest heaven, and I don't bump into stars on my way to work. In reality, the Quran references an old myth whose oldest form we find among the Sumerians, who believed there were literally 7 heavens above us, in which gods resided, and 7 earths below us. The Quran also speaks of 7 earths, but there are no earths below us. Some thought later this refers to 7 planets. But the number of planets in our system is not 7, and there are millions of planets in the universe that we can see. The Quran seems to be adopting myths from older beliefs. Number 54. Allah brings the sun from the east. The Quran makes it look like the sun was orbiting the earth and not the other way around. There is no indication in the Quran that it is the earth turning around the sun, only the opposite. According to the Quran, Abraham once told an opponent that his Lord brings the sun from the east and no one else can bring it from the west. His opponent was overwhelmed by this challenge. In reality, no one brings the sun from anywhere. We just revolve around the sun while spinning, and therefore we see the sun appear in the east and disappear in the west. This could only be the Quran's Abraham's ignorant statement, although he's supposed to be one of Allah's favorite prophets. But it gets worse. Number 53. The sun orbits the earth. If you look at this series of verses, for example, it talks about how day and night interchange, and the sun runs towards a point, and it's not possible for the sun or the moon to reach each other, and they both float in an orbit. Doesn't this clearly sound like the Quran implies that the sun is literally up there floating in an orbit with the moon? Of course it does. Some try to rescue the Quran by saying, this is not a mistake. We have learned that the sun revolves around the galaxy, and the Quran actually means that the sun is in its own orbit. So the Quran is not entirely wrong, see? But you would only try to correct the Quran in such a poor attempt if you really wanted to keep believing that this book tells you all the truth about the world. Because what it really says is a very ignorant view of these objects, that they chase each other in an orbit, and the sun moves above us. Number 52. The moon follows the sun. In an additional verse, the Quran explicitly says that the moon follows the sun, when in reality we revolve around the sun and the moon revolves around us. Yet there is nothing here that fits the description in the Quran. When we don't know better, however, and we look at the sky in the 7th century, it might easily look like the two are following each other. That's what you would think. But it is far from reality, and reveals the Quran to be ignorant. Number 51. The sun and the moon can't overtake each other.